All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's product training with Blue Triangle. Today, we're going to focus on alerts. Alerts are a critical part of performance and availability monitoring, and it's important to have your alerts set up well to prevent false positives and maintain actionable alerts. All right, so my name is Mark, and I'm the support manager here at Blue Triangle, and we do these trainings each week about a variety of topics, all related to web performance, analytics, and ultimately how to use Blue Triangle to solve problems. So let's go ahead and get started. For the agenda today, the first thing we'll do is talk about what kinds of alerts there are in Blue Triangle. There's more than just your typical rules-based alerts. There's things like missing services alerts and SLA alerts. So we'll walk through what's available in Blue Triangle, but today we're going to focus on the rules-based alerts. We'll show you a few of the key areas in Blue Triangle that you'll use to create and manage these alerts. And then we'll talk about the actual types of rules-based alerts. So, there's alerts for real user data, for synthetic data, and they can be different between the two. And then we'll walk through the process of creating an alert. And then after that, we'll take a look at what one of these alerts actually looks like and what kind of information you can see in the alert. We'll discuss maintenance windows, and then of course tuning and maintaining the alerts. And ultimately we'll finish with a live walkthrough of setting up alerts in the Blue Triangle portal, and we'll point out a few different things that we've covered along the way as well. Alright, so types of alerts in Blue Triangle. First and foremost, we have standard rules-based alerts. This is, for example, a performance alert. Let's say you'd like to monitor the onload for your homepage, and what you can do is set some thresholds, whether it's a percent change or a standard deviation or just a fixed value threshold of when it should go into a warning state and when it should go into a critical state. And that's kind of our main alerts tab, and that can be found here in the navigation menu where my pointer is right now. We also have error state tracking notifications, and these are tied to the synthetic monitors. So if you've set up a synthetic monitor, you might have noticed there's a place to configure the error state tracking details, like the look back window, how many different locations are required to trigger an alert, and things like that. And you can also specify a notification group or a email address for those notifications to be delivered to. That's one. Another is SLA alerts in Blue Triangle are found in the tag and content governance module, and they are essentially alerts for first or third party content on your site. So, for example, you could monitor Google Analytics, or you could monitor Blue Triangle for that matter. You can monitor things like file size or average duration, and you can alert on when those tags are exceeding those set thresholds. Another one is missing services. This is what you can do is alert on services or tags that fall off the site or aren't loading as often as they should be loading on your site. And then we have some other notifications, and these can all be configured inside of your profile, the little person icon in the top right of the Blue Triangle portal. If you hit edit profile and scroll down, you'll see some checkboxes next to all of these options, and these are all different forms of alerting that we do as well. Alright, so let's focus in on rules-based alerts, and first thing I'd like to do is just point out some key areas for the rules-based alerting. So I've pulled up a screenshot here of the Blue Triangle portal with the settings menu pulled down, and you can access that menu by clicking the gear icon up here in the top right. Now there's going to be a section for alerts, and this is the main area that you're going to go to for your rules-based alerts. You can get to the same page over here in the navigation menu, if you scroll down to alerts and reports and just click on that first option there for alerts. Those two take you to the same page. And then one more that's a good place to be is the alerts log. And you can get there from the settings. There's also a link to the alerts log on the actual alerts page. As a matter of fact, it's right here. So the alerts manager is the screen we were just looking at. Here it is in a little more detail. So a variety of things you can do here. So firstly, you can create an alert. You can create alerts. You can edit alerts. You can set maintenance windows. We'll cover what that is a little later, but essentially gives you the ability to silence alerts during scheduled maintenance or certain periods where maybe traffic is low and you don't want to have any false positives due to low traffic causing some fluctuation in performance or something like that. So there's that. There's also a variety of bulk actions, and so you can edit certain fields or parameters of each alert. You can apply a maintenance window. You can toggle reminders. You can enable or disable or delete them. And you can do a few different forms of pausing. So you can pause an alert immediately, and you can also schedule a pause. So the difference between a pause and a maintenance window is really that a pause is going to be a one-time deal, whereas a maintenance window is going to be a recurring daily or weekly period of time that you'd like to silence the alerts. They do essentially the same thing, but it's just that minor difference there. So that's the alerts manager, and now we're moving over to the alerts log. You can get there down at the bottom of the navigation menu on the left. There's an option for logs. You can also just pull down the settings menu and search for alerts log or log, and that'll highlight this area down here. And there's a lot of great information you can see in the log. Not only is it a log of the state changes of each alert, it also is a log of any edits or updates to the alerts themselves. So that gives you some good context around why did my alert clear, and you come to find out you made a change recently that you changed the thresholds or something like that. So alerts manager and alerts log are two great places to be aware of when it comes to our standard rules-based alerts. Now let's talk about the different types of rules-based alerts. So obviously there's going to be slightly different alerts depending on which data type you choose, and the options for data type are RUM synthetic and are base page and SSL, otherwise known as API checks. So with Real User, there are performance/business alerts, domain filters, domain performance, JavaScript errors and CSP violations, and SLA violations. If you throw in synthetic, what you can add to that list is test failure alerts and site availability alerts. And then over with the API checks or base page and SSL data type, there are performance alerts, site availability, and SSL expiry as well. So I think performance and business are pretty straightforward. What you're going to do is choose that, and then you can alert on any sort of metric, whether it's a performance metric or a business metric. For example, timed interactive, or maybe you're alerting on conversion rate or revenue or page views or something like that. That's what you would choose there. Domain filters is, I think that this alert type may be on its way to being deprecated at this point, but what you can do is head on over to a configuration page called the domain filters, and you can build a whitelist of domains, and if anything loads on your site that's not in that whitelist, we'll give you an alert. Domain performance is pretty straightforward. You can monitor the performance for a particular domain. You can monitor CSP violations and SLA violations as well. Test failure pretty straightforward as well. The thresholds in this case are going to be how many tests are required to fail before we trigger an alert. And then site availability, of course, this is going to be a percent availability threshold. Let's say 95%. If it goes below 95%, send an alert. And SSL expiry. So our base page and SSL or API checks monitors automatically collect data on the SSL certificate of the domain it's measuring. So whenever, I think it's 60 days out from expiration, we'll send you an alert. I think it's 60 days out, 1 month out, and then 7 days out, and each day after that until it's expired. So we give you good notice ahead of time if your SSL certificate is about to expire. All right, so now let's actually talk about how to configure an alert. So there's 4 steps in the process, and in the top left of the alert manager, you're going to click this button to create an alert, and that's going to bring up this wizard. So there's a general settings, set your conditions, the alert schedule, and then any filter options you'd like to apply. So first, the general settings. Of course, each alert is going to require a unique name. You can configure an email, a notification group. You can actually create a new group here, SMS numbers, or a Slack integration. We also have other integrations, including PagerDuty. If you'd like to get that set up, we have a good help article on how to do that. You have the option to embed a graph in the email. That's something some people find super helpful, is to be able to see at a glance, what does the graph look like, and seeing it dip below the threshold. And then, of course, if you'd like to customize the email subject or the subject of the message, you can do that, or just leave it blank to use the default. And then you can also customize the body. So if there's any custom text or HTML you'd like to place in the body of the message, you can do that with that field there. All right, so that's general. The next thing is condition. So we've talked about the data type and the alert type. With data type, there's real user, synthetic, and base page and SSL. With alert type, we just ran through a variety of them. Well, we ran through all of them, and they differ depending on the data type. The threshold type is whether you just want a fixed value. For example, that's what we're looking at down here in the warning threshold and critical threshold. This is just a fixed value threshold, right? Another thing you can do is use a percent change threshold or a standard deviation. In that case, that you're allowed to set a positive percent change and a negative percent change. So you can alert in both directions if you'd like. And one more thing is there's a violation count threshold type, but that is only for synthetic and the base page and SSL. And for most of these options, we're going to be selecting an alerting metric, and this would be anything from onload to timed interactive or page views, revenue, anything like that. So you're just going to set all of these fields, configure it the way you like. I would recommend, if you're new to the alerts, I would recommend definitely playing around with it and seeing the different permutations and what options are available to make sure you're going to set up the right alert that you'd like to create. All right, so the next step in the wizard here is the schedule. So you can actually configure an alert to run for a definitive amount of time. For example, 2 weeks, and then have it expire, or run it indefinitely. You can set a time zone of the alert. You can set it to only be enabled certain days of the week. You can choose to enable reminders. So not only are you going to be notified once, but you also get reminder emails as the alert remains in critical state or warning state. Maintenance windows, you'll want to, if you have any maintenance windows, you'll want to apply them to the alert. And then now evaluation window and minimum sample size. So the evaluation window is going to be the amount of time the alert looks back to establish the data set or the baseline. It's going to be the look back window that the alert uses to evaluate the data. And then the minimum sample size is the number of samples required during the evaluation window for the alert to fire. So this means, in the last 5 minutes, there must be at least 100 page views in order to trigger an alert, right? All right, and the last step is filters. So go ahead and set any desired traffic segment, page name, browser or device, and location, or any of the rest of these filter options. And that will be the last step, and you can go ahead and click finish there, and that'll do it for you. So that'll start running immediately unless you scheduled the alert ahead of time. So let's talk about what it looks like when you actually receive an alert. This is an alert message that I pulled out of our alert log, but it would look much like this inside of an email or a Slack message. So the key information here is right up at the top. It's a critical alert. The timed interactive is high, and it's essentially 2.6 seconds is greater than the critical threshold setting of 2 seconds. You can also see other timings during this evaluation window, and you can see the alert configuration down below. Now, one really cool thing I want to point out is you're able to view interactive graphs. There's a link up at the top of the message, and if you click that, it'll take you over to something that looks a lot like this. So in this top graph, we're looking at the configured metric, which is timed interactive. That's this blue line, and we can see the critical dashed line in red and the warning dashed line in amber here. So obviously this is above our threshold, so this alert was instantly triggered once it was created. Another cool thing is you get some additional metric. You get a graph with all of the rest of the generic performance metrics down below to give you additional context if maybe this was an issue only affecting this metric or all metrics. And in this case, if you look here around 1512 in the graph, we can see that a number of the metrics sort of had a bump during that minute or two. All right. Now, maintenance windows. So real quick, you can set up a maintenance window to silence alerts at a specific time of the day or week. If you look at this graph down here, in the overnight period between 2 and 6 a.m., this site experiences some slower performance due to the decrease in page views. But if you have a alert set up and it seems to be triggering overnight, then what you can do is create a overnight maintenance window from 2 to roughly 6 a.m., for example, and that would silence the alerts during that time. So this expected bump in performance isn't going to send an alert. So maintenance windows are a great tool to prevent false positives. And the way you can do that, if you go into the settings, there's an other section, and you can click on maintenance windows, and the configuration is just a few fields here. You give it a name, choose which days of the week you'd like to have it enabled, the time period the pause should occur, and what kinds of, whether it should pause the real user or synthetic alerts or the synthetic measurements as well. All right, I think we have one more thing to discuss here before we move on to run through this live. real quick, and that is tuning and maintaining alerts. So I want everyone to focus in on this, on the next thing I'm about to say, and that is that every alert is actionable. So it doesn't matter if it's a non-issue or the alert isn't even meant to be for you. Every alert is actionable. So what does that mean? So let's say there's two different things it can be. It can be an issue or a non-issue. So if it's an issue, obviously we need to investigate it. But if it's a non-issue, there is an action item, and that is go in and tune the alert to make it more precise, and not notify you maybe of a false positive again in the future. Maybe the alert isn't meant for you. Somebody put your name on it and you don't want to see it anymore. Well, in that case, you can go in and remove yourself. If you treat every alert as actionable in this way, the alerts are much more effective. So as far as maintaining alerts goes, we understand tuning alerts is going to be an ongoing effort. You should be able to get it to where you want it to be after a few updates, but certainly between the alerts page, the alerts manager, and the alerts log, you'll be able to handle the ongoing management of these things. All right, so let's walk through creating an alert in Blue Triangle right now. All right, so here we are on the alerts page, and again, I'll point it out. We're down here in the navigation menu, this first option, alerts. You can also get there in the settings menu over here under the alert section, this top option. Now let's go ahead and create an alert together, and let's say we'd like to create, before we get into the details, let's say we'd like to set up an alert on timed interactive for the home page on desktop. And we don't want timed interactive to exceed, I don't know, 2,000 milliseconds or 2 seconds. So demo time TTI alert. So we're going to give it a name. We're going to configure recipients. If you want to set a notification group, you can do that here. SMS numbers, of course. Slack. We're gonna leave all of these defaults here. We're gonna go on to the schedule, or sorry, the condition, and we're gonna choose real user. The performance alert is the one we're gonna use. We'll do fixed value, and the alerting metric is gonna be time to interactive, which is here. So we're going to say, warn us if it goes above 1 second, and tell us that it's critical if it goes above 2 seconds. Now, let's actually, to make this more realistic, let's actually open up the performance detail page, and you should definitely do this as you're creating these yourself, and that is you should look at the trend for the metric you're setting it up for. So this is let's see here, probably 7 days is a good time period to look at. So we're going to look at the timed interactive for the last 7 days and see how it fluctuates. So it's pretty steady around 2.5 to 3 seconds. So let's set a tight threshold and say if it exceeds 3 seconds, send us an alert. So we're going to change these thresholds to 3 seconds and 2.8 seconds. All right. We'll have it run indefinitely, keep our time zone every day of the week. Yeah, we'll go ahead and enable reminders. Yeah, 1 day is good. Maintenance windows. Let's say for this example we'd like to apply our overnight maintenance maintenance window. The evaluation window will say let's say the last 10 minutes, and there must be at least 10 samples. Over here you can see that we're well over 10 samples. Well, let's see here. This is an hour. Oh yeah, that's 200,000. So minimum samples shouldn't be an issue. All right, the last one is filters. So we said we wanted to do the home page on desktop. So we just click the desktop icon and we'll hit finish, and that'll do it. So let's see, we can pull that up. Demo TTI alert, we can see that here. It hasn't been evaluated yet, but it will any minute now. I can probably refresh the page and it will, but here we can see the alert and some of the configuration details. We can also jump over to the alerts log, and we can see that I created this alert by this demo mark user. All right. So I think we're coming up on our time here, and I covered most of what I wanted to share with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and pause now and see if there's any questions that I can help answer for you guys. All right, so I don't see any questions, but that's okay because I see we're a couple minutes over our time here. But thank you for everyone for your time so far. And if you do have any questions, we're always happy to speak with you offline. So feel free to reach out to us anytime. You can reach us at any of the emails listed here. Of course, support is support@bluetriangle.com. And you can also head on over to our help center at help.bluetriangle.com. And there you can submit a request or a question, and we'll be happy to get back with you. All right, guys, thanks again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.